Hi, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes. And on this day, we welcome back our weekly contributor, Coy Malone, social justice activist. How are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good, Sybil. How are you,
Good.
Sybil?
I'm good. And let us welcome our friend Rudy Rush, comedian extraordinaire. How are you, Mr. Rush?
Sybil, what's up? Coy, what's good? I'm excellent.
Are you? What's
Yes.
Wonderful.
what's going on with you? What you been doing? What's the haps? What's the goings
Well, you
ons?
know what? It's spring break right now.
I was
So
going to
I'm
ask you about
actually
that.
staycationing with my youngest, who is 5. And we having a good time right now. So it's just, we're doing a little bit of that. But I'm also like trying to, do some shows in between. So I drop off at my mom's, whatever. But it's all good. I'm having fun.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Oh, and it's especially fun because you guys are in a hotel and it's a little something different. You go swimming and do all
Look,
that kind of stuff, right?
hey, Sybil, I had a show. I did a guest spot. And I brought her with me and I brought her on stage. And I said, yeah, this is part of my work, my court order from child support to bring my
Bring your daughter to
bring my
work.
child on stage. You got to bring her on stage 2-3 times a week.
That judge had a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Coy, what's going on?
Daylight savings time is kicking my behind
That 1 hour
today.
is doing it.
It is really doing it. I really just couldn't figure it out today. I am dragging. Oh my
So,
gosh.
so this has always been a bone of contention for radio people. I guess, Rudy, did you ever have an experience where daylight saving time kind of interrupted your schedule?
This is the first time it's actually messed me up. I mean, I was halfway through the day before I realized it was daylight saving time. That's what really messed me up because, usually we have all of our clocks and stuff that, kind of just transfer like our phones,
Mm-hmm.
the time.
Mm.
But I woke up and I'm thinking, okay, it's 8 o'clock. It's a little different, feels a little different, but I'm good with it. But yeah, it was like maybe 3 o'clock and somebody was like, you got to turn your clock back. I was like, what? or spring it forward. Yeah.
Uh, Tom used to hate it. We used to go through this every time for not for the return to normal time, but always the spring ahead, because he hated losing that hour. I I used to work on the weekends, and so doing overnights was always cool for me with daylight saving time because you spring ahead, you lose that hour, and you still get paid for it. So that was always a bonus for me, back in the day. But it doesn't really affect me. The only thing I like is that it's sunlight longer.
The only
Yeah.
person it affects positively are people who love going to the club. And at 2 o'clock, they're like, girl, it's one. We got one more hour. Turn up.
Yeah, and the club owners appreciate that too. You're right. Absolutely
hmm
right. Well, that's cool. That's cool. And so Coy, what's thrown off? Your schedule, your I mean, could it be Mercury in retrograde too?
No, not that. It's not in retrograde right now, but it is a little difficult with my sleep schedule, just adjusting to a regular job where I used to, work overnight. I used to work in the clubs and things like that. Now I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning. So
Mhm.
that came around a lot faster than usual today. And then I have to, be up very early for breakfast and lunch service in the kitchen as a cook. You have to be on point. You have to deliver food that looks good and tastes good at the same time and on time. And
Mhm.
so having that energy in the kitchen is definitely needed. And I felt like it wore off at 11 a.m.
Oh, you hit the wall. Yeah.
That sound like my mama. She got 5 kids. She had to make sure everything tastes good too.
Well, that's true for Coy because she is a bit of a mama in that respect. She's feeding a lot of mouths there
Mm.
both her jobs. So you're absolutely right, Rudy. So we'll just call you Mama Coy, the cook.
Okay.
That'll be funny when the time that I am called mama. Ooh.
We'll kind of just leave that right there, huh, Rudy?
Yeah.
I ain't want to be the one to say it. I'm like, who mama? Whose son
Nobody
you got
yet.
locked up in there?
Uh-huh,
Nobody
uh-huh.
yet.
We
I
know.
just cook. I cook on the stove. I'm not cooking yet.
Uh-huh. Oh, sure. Okay.
Mm.
Let's move to what's going on in the world. Let's talk topics today. So, Rudy, you mentioned that this is spring break. And so, what does that look like in terms of, besides taking your child to work with you? What does that look like for the kind of events you all have planned for the week?
Well, you know what? The cool thing, I have two girls. The oldest, they're like night and day when it comes to hanging out. The oldest needs a schedule.
Hmm.
Like what we doing today, and if you tell her we chilling today, then we lose her for the day. But the youngest one, she's actually really into chilling. So I'm really trying to bring her to a point where like, yo, we can go have lunch and go to this little place where they have video games, like a Dave and Buster's or something. We
Hmm.
play a lot of card games. She's like, Daddy, let's just chill out today. I mean, she's the cheapest date I've ever had. I love her. So yeah,
That'll
it's
change.
just a chance to bond and have a good time. And now that things are opening up, we kind of
Yeah.
peek out a little bit and have some fun. So that's what it means for us, just to kind of bond together and have some fun, just her and I, some alone time.
So, is that also when you said things are opening up? Are you guys still masked up?
No, no, we're not masked up at all. I'm like, I've gotten COVID twice. And at this point, like if you're from the hood, you get anything twice, you're immune to it. So I'm good. Like, but I done ate a roach by accident before.
Oh.
Okay.
Whew.
That I'm gonna need to move on from that visual.
Oh.
I don't know how you came about that roach that
It's-
you ate.
Listen, you got some inner city viewership. I promise you. Somebody else is like, me too.
I have a question. Was it in cereal?
Well, no, listen, I used to catch those, Coy. It was the time that you went to bed with some sugar in your mouth. Like you snuck a piece of candy, and them roaches was like, he eating an hour later right now. I'm gonna get you about 15.
Oh.
I'm gonna be in that cavity.
That
Oh.
oh my, that's once again a visual that I'm gonna try to dismiss myself from because it's just like, oh my god, I gotta go brush my teeth right now, and I'm hours away from going to sleep.
You're gonna have
Um,
us looking at the ceiling and we don't even got roaches. Like,
right, right. Oh
oh.
my, oh my. So, comedian extraordinaire Rudy Rush, where can people see, hear, and enjoy your work these days? Where are
Okay,
you?
well, I'm all over the place right now, Sybil. I'm trying to, get your attention because I know you like a working man. So I'm actually all over the place. I'm actually in Virginia Beach this weekend with Bill Bellamy. I've been doing some work
Oh,
with him.
right.
Yeah, before I leave to go there, I'll be in Plano at the Plano House of Comedy new club. I'm gonna do a one night there. It's gonna be really good, fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. And then I'll also be at the MGM in Maryland with Bill Bellamy again. And you can catch my podcast, You Can't Rush Success, on all podcasting platforms. It's a pretty good thing. I had the RZA on last and Will Downing
Oh.
and a few other people. So it's picking up in popularity. I'm enjoying it.
Did I see you? Was it your podcast or was it her podcast? My girl Cherie Nicole from the Willie Moore Jr. show.
That's me.
That was you.
That was my show. Yeah.
Yeah, I work with her 3 times a week doing new stuff
Yeah,
for
she's
the Willie Moore Jr.
fantastic. She's
She
a
really
bright
is.
young talent, and I
Yeah.
mean, like I was trying to talk to her afterwards, like let's do something together because she
Uh-huh.
gets everything greenlit.
She is the busiest woman ever, though. So only a guy like you could lock her down.
I don't
Really.
know. I can lock her down for a minute. I can't keep a woman. Hold your head, hold your ears to your head.
Well, we will look for all of your dates and everything, and tell Billy Bill we said hello.
I will.
Okay. Let's talk about what's going on in Ukraine. I don't know if you all have, we try to give daily updates on this. So check this out. The United States reported that Russia sent a request to its old friend China for help in getting equipment and money in their war on Ukraine. So Beijing's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, now I'm not sure we can talk about this. Russia asking us for military equipment and other support. They said that the US has been spreading disinformation, and this is very dangerous. Sounding a lot like Russia, but that's China too, right?
Listen, let me tell you something. It's like back in the day, you always try to get somebody to rock with you that don't really rock with you normally, but you like
Mm-hmm.
this. There's something in it for you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I know China, it's gonna get ugly if they get involved. That's all I know.
Well, if they get involved and seemingly they have that kind of relationship that they do, if they say, okay, Russia, we will come and we'll work with you, we'll send you money, we'll send you equipment, all that kind of stuff, but you're going to be with us when we attack Taiwan, because
Mm.
that's where China's attentions are these days. And so the same sort of, just like you're doing with Ukraine, we're trying to work this with, well, not work, but we're trying to get over on Taiwan. And so this is gonna this. As we know, the world, it's completely different now. But as we talk about this and the possibility of World War III, man, come on.
It's the world's version of throw mama from the chain. I'm gonna kill my wife. You kill my mama.
Right, right. Wink, wink. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Right, right. So the fighting is intensifying across Ukraine. Three American officials said the U.S. government had reason to believe that this help had been asked, but Russia is still moving closer to the capital city of Kyiv, and a number of military deaths as well as those of civilians. I don't know if you saw the bombing of Russia on a maternity hospital, and the people that were killed there, a mother and her unborn child, one of the fatalities reported, as well as a number of other people injured. And this is going on amidst Russia and Ukraine having talks and trying to bring peace to their countries. They discussed a ceasefire, immediate withdrawal of Russian troops, and security guarantees. And they said the communication is being held, yet it's hard. And the rounds of negotiations up until this point have failed to make any concrete progress.
Mm.
It's more than a notion, but we got to pay attention because not only people like Coy, people who had family members who were a part of the military, like your dad was in the Air Force and things like that. Um, we have a lot of Black folks that could be on the ground right now in Poland and other countries, and God forbid they should be called, to move forward into Ukraine, and that's the war. U.S. is in it.
Wow. You know what though? It's funny when you have Black people, our position when things like this happen. It's funny because when you see these big nations fighting, how they treat, see how they treating Black people in Ukraine. We be like, no, let them fight. Normally they want us to break it up. Like, nah, let them figure it out. And whoever's standing at the end of it, maybe we can get a better deal out of them. Because right now, I don't know who to side for, because it's like, like I said, on one hand, they want us to give all of this support and well wishes to a country that, treats our people just as bad as they do here or anywhere else. I'm like, where can we get a fair shake? But I do get your point. There's a lot of our young women and men in the service that are African American, because those are some of the best opportunities for them to be better in life. But they put them on the front line. So we're going to lose a lot of our children if this, or young people, I should call them children, if something like this were to go down. So I hope that doesn't happen.
What do you think, Coy?
This is just one of the things that a lot of people are concerned about, especially with the conversations going on with my peers. Like, this is the start of World War III. What does that mean for the people that we know that are in the military? And I know some people that are active duty now that are getting these calls that are saying, hey, they're asking me to report, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means I'm going to get shipped overseas. Are we getting ready for a war, or what's happening? And it's a major concern. We've already been through quite a few wars.
We just got out of Afghanistan. Yeah,
exactly.
For most of your life, we were in Afghanistan.
Exactly. So to see something like this happen again, and with the possibility that it could be much greater and much more catastrophic than Afghanistan, it's scary.
Yeah, and nuclear war will do that to you.
On top of yes, and then we just survived.
Right?
I mean, we're on that. I don't know if we're on the outskirts of the pandemic, but we have survived a good portion of it, and some of it's worse, even though there are other waves that are going on and what have you. But we're gonna be traumatized. Like, the history books between the year 2000 and 2025 are gonna.
Well, if we get to 2025,
if it goes nuclear, you could cancel that nail appointment.
No, for real. Yeah.
You ain't gonna need no nails.
Right. And if you were planning New Year's Eve 2022, I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know.
mm, 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 mm.
Sad news over the weekend as we heard about the death of a reality TV star and singer Tracy Braxton. Passed away at the age of 50 from cancer. She, of course, was a part of Braxton Family Values. She was an actress in a number of TV shows, and she also was a singer with the Braxton sisters and had recorded songs on her own. And she recorded a hit song called Last Call. It was number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100. And she also recorded Broken Things featuring her sisters Tony, Tawanda, and Trina. She had been suffering a private battle with cancer, and she leaves mourning her loss, not only her sisters, as Tony Braxton took to Instagram and penned a message saying, "It's the utmost regret we inform you of the passing of our sister, Tracy. Needless to say, she was a bright light, a wonderful daughter, an amazing sister, loving mother, wife, grandmother, and respected performer. We will miss her dearly." She uh, leaves behind her, as I said, not only her sisters, but her husband and her son. And I think she and her husband have been married for like 25 years.
Wow.
And so she had the most normal life, if we can say that, of all of the sisters. She was like, she lived in Maryland with her husband and her son. And I know that her son recently married, and they brought the ceremony to her. As
Mm.
she was going through the treatment for cancer, and but she really was, and she was, from all accounts, like Kim Whitley had worked with her, and she said she was the most down to earth person that you could possibly imagine. And so we are very sorry to
You know,
hear about her.
coming from a large family myself, I have four siblings. That's always an issue for me. Like you always worry because with the larger the sibling base, something is more likely to happen. I
Mm-hmm.
know people who have large families and they're like, "Oh, my brother passed when he was 18" or something like that. So you always kind of, I mean, at once the older we get too, you have that issue. But man, I mean, she's such a young person at the age of
Right.
50 for that to happen and to go out with cancer. It was just like a shock to the family, to us too, because we didn't know.
Right. Absolutely. Coy, I don't know in Atlanta if you had come across the Braxtons, because that was one of their home bases.
Right. Actually, I haven't come across the Braxtons. They're pretty private people, but they have a big fan base here in Atlanta, and people really enjoy them when they're on, Braxton Family Values and what
Yeah.
have you. So there was quite a few people that were pretty sad about Tracy, because we've seen them go throughout a lot of stages in life, and despite everything, that some of the things that we saw with, some of the difficulties and disagreements that they had on the show, this is a
Mm.
very, very close knit group, very close knit family, very close knit sisters,
Yeah.
and they really, really loved each other. And it's just so sad to see one of them go so early, especially with cancer. One of the things I just, oh, it bothers me, on top of the fact that it was cancer, is that it was a private battle. And I feel like a part of your healing process could be to share what's going on, to let some of these things out. And I believe that because my mom was a cancer patient, and she said one of the things that she saw that was essential in healing for cancer patients was to let out whatever it was that they were holding on to
Mm,
for so
Mm-hmm.
long.
mm.
And so I just feel like I just really wish that I hope she had the chance to kind of let out anything that was bothering her over the years and what have you. And I really wish she would have said something to somebody that could have been a part of her healing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coy, I mean, and we see each other every now and again, and I appreciate you saying that because right now I'm dealing with being in arrears and child support. So maybe everyone listening can go to Rudy Rush and donate $10. I'm speaking. I was having a private battle with child support payments.
You are so stupid. You're so stupid.
So everybody watching.
Yes.
I don't want to be in silence no more
Oh,
about
oh.
my issue. I want to talk to everybody. Hashtag Rudy Rush. All right. Cash
Cash App the I was
$, Rudy Rush.
Hashtag God bless the child.
Okay.
right.
No,
Who's trying to
hashtag
get
my mama
daddy's
crazy.
it could be like this is a healing
Yeah,
time. Let
yeah,
it out.
yeah, let it out, let it go. Just as the song goes. Yeah, yeah. You are
Yeah.
nuts. You are absolutely nuts. All right, so let's move to our question of the day, and our question of the day in our "What's Really Going On" segment, and it is all about you, Coy Malone.
Oh shoot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Our Coy Malone is fed up, ladies and gentlemen. She has had enough. And in a recent Instagram post, Coy talks about being unjustly accused and having to pay the cost. So the question for folks is, have you ever been accused of something you did not do? And what did you do about it? So not only are we talking about what Coy is going through and the unjust accusations against her, and as she is battling this in more ways than one, through her spirit, through her soul, and through her pocket,
Mm, mm, mm.
but also what and people can understand this, those who have been accused unjustly. But what did you do? What advice do you have that you think Coy could benefit from today? And Coy will open the door to you because people can go to your Instagram page and see this. But just to give people a snippet of what's going on, because you just hit that point where you were fed up, and I think
Yeah. It's oh, this has been going on for almost a year now, and I was wrongfully arrested. While I was pulling over, an officer decided to use a pit maneuver and run my car off the road. For whatever reason, he thought that I was running. I was not. Before I had a chance to say anything, I was placed in handcuffs, thrown in the backseat of the car without any kind of questioning or anything. And I was accused of driving drunk, which I wasn't. I was supposed to be given a breathalyzer. He didn't do that. I was taken to the hospital because I was told this is the procedure that's required when you are injured or if we use a pit
Mm.
maneuver or what have you. And this is where they're also going to do a blood alcohol test. I was never given one. And when I was thrown in the jail cell, I was handed a list of citations, and one of them included a DUI, and it was said that I refused. I was accused of speeding, and I was accused of evading, which is a felony. So $10,000 later, which mostly came out of my hard-earned money and savings, and I had a few people that have donated to my GoFundMe, which I appreciate. Now I have a lawyer. I've been going through this court process. I have driving privileges. I still have to ask for permission to leave the state. There are other things that I'm responsible for now, including this hospital bill that I'm finding out.
so. The
Um,
cop sent you to the hospital for something that was a part of the maneuver, but
yeah,
you didn't
that he
need
did.
hospitalization.
No, he did. He drove me to the hospital in handcuffs, and they had me handcuffed to the bed as they checked me out and gave me, I think, ibuprofen, trying to make sure I was okay
Which
before
is
I go.
$1,000 a tab.
Pretty much. Yep. Pretty much. So now I'm getting a hospital bill, and I'm just looking at this like, why am I? I'm thinking somebody stole my social security number, because that's happened. I've seen it happen to my best friend in Atlanta. And
Mm,
I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, call the hospital and find out what's going on. And so I look at the date and the time and
mm.
see that it was related to my arrest. So a lot of people don't know that when you go through these cases with police, when you're brutalized by police, when they use excessive force, and even if they take you to the hospital, you are responsible for that hospital bill, not
Mhm.
the police. So after you go through your case, after you go through your settlement and things like that, if you do decide to sue or raise a lawsuit, the most that they'll do is reimbursement for that
Mm.
Mhm.
if they're found guilty.
Wow.
This
Rudy.
is,
It
so,
stopped me from
I
getting
like to joke
jobs,
around.
all
I
kind
like
of
to
stuff.
joke
I'm
around.
frustrated.
Okay, so wait, hey, hold on, Coy.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so add that part to it, Coy.
This has stopped me from getting a really good job. I was looking into getting a job with the city government through, actually, I didn't know it was through the police department, but it's a branch of the police department. And I was told that I cannot complete the hiring process, even though I'm one of their top candidates because I have an open case. But apparently, even if you have like an open traffic ticket, they won't allow for you to complete this process. But I mean, it stopped me from doing that. It stopped me from doing other jobs that require a full driver's license. Now I have like a piece of paper that says, yeah, this person can drive.
But
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So Rudy, what do you say?
So I was going to say earlier, I joke a lot, but the one thing that is uncomfortable, and hearing your story, Coy, is very uncomfortable, and so much so because I'm a member of, well, I grew up with the Central Park Five,
Mm,
Oh wow.
and that could have been me. And I knew when the case broke that, lies were being told. I'm like, we never did that in the park. And I'm looking at Kevin like, he did this to this woman and he's confessing to it. Now, Coy's situation, she's standing up for herself and she's fighting for herself in court. But this is the problem I have with society and the policing of African Americans, is that they get to do what they want to do. Like, she's a very, as you can see, well spoken, very gracious person, and I'm sure she's handling this whole case in that manner. But at the same time, she's being made to be a liar, and all of the evidence is just screaming that she's innocent. And you still have to pay and pay, and like they talk about things like reimbursement. There should be a penalty for even bringing her into the court or having her go through all of the things that she's going through. But this is
mm-hmm.
what we deal with each and every day. So like, and we're the black leaders. That's the first thing people say, you know what I mean? And I feel like they're sitting in a cushy place where, yeah, they may say a word or two, but nothing's actually really done proactively to help us, because there's no way that woman should have had to go through that.
Right. And
No.
and like your friends, in the five there, um, we look at it now, and we know of their innocence. We know how they were set up. We know all of these things, and in the same sense, what are we talking? 25 years later,
Okay, and everybody's missing the point. It's like, yeah, they're somewhat celebrity now, or the story's being told and the truth is out. But man, that's just something that was so publicized. Can you imagine how many more Central Park Fives there
right?
are around the world, and how many Coys there are, you know what I mean, that end up even worse, like Sandra Blanche and all these other situations?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure she handled herself the way she's talking to us now in a civil manner. She wasn't acting out of sorts and what we would
Mm-mm.
call hood or ghetto, whatever. She's probably like, of course, like anyone else, in a state of shock. Is an emotion. Like, you can't just sit there like, well, what's happening? What's going on? She probably could have been like, hey, I didn't do anything. So, but they take that and they use that part
Yeah,
of your emotion
yeah,
against
yeah.
you.
I didn't even have
And
a chance to say anything, to be
look at
honest.
that.
When I got hit, when I noticed my car was spinning around, and mind you, my boyfriend was in the car with me too. So we're getting hit by the police officer, and next thing you know, I see a flashlight coming towards us, and I said, that can only mean one thing. He pulled a gun out on us, pulled me
Wow.
out the car. I'm in handcuffs, and he's yelling at me, stop moving, stop moving. I was just, I don't know if I was gonna pee on myself or what. I don't know if it
And,
was like over at that
and
point. I don't
anything
know.
would have been understandable.
Anything. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I said nothing until he started asking questions after going to question my boyfriend, breathalyzing him for some reason, not giving me one. So much stuff happened in a matter of moments. I just thought it was over with. And the one thing that I thought the whole entire time, even though I'm the one driving, even though I'm the one that's in handcuffs, my first notion and thought was to protect him, to make sure nothing happened to him.
As the black man who
Yes.
was a part of this, yeah,
And he had to sit there and watch that happen to
to
me.
you, to his woman, yeah.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Civil, to Coy. So when you go and you seek legal, advice or whatever, I'm sure you have a lawyer now. You're saying you paid all this money. Like, what does a lawyer say in this situation? Like, what is the power that because they should reassure you that, oh, well, this is ridiculous. We're going to take them for everything that we can and bring some justice to this situation because you're in the wrong. But I don't even see that with people who are out there to litigate for us. They work harder to get a murderer or someone who's got the gun, the prints on the gun, and you saw the videotape. I mean, they work harder to get that person off than they do someone like yourself who was wrongly,
Which was
you were
essential,
assaulted.
and you would think it would be an easier case to
Yes.
work your way through. Yeah.
Yeah, you would. And I think I have a few things that are working in my favor. Number one, I've never had a ticket. I've never been arrested. I've never committed any kind of crimes or anything like that. When you look up my background, it's just my name and address. There's literally nothing there. I have that. I'm educated. My career track looks wonderful. And this is one of the things that allowed for me to actually be released from jail. The judge in jail was like, she can sign herself out because it just doesn't really make any sense why she's here. So I have that working for me. And my lawyer also reassured me that, once we do acquire the audio and video from the police officer's dash cam, and I think they wear body mics. I'm not sure if they have an actual body camera because this is a state trooper that we're talking about. Um, that's going to also help corroborate my story. From everything that I'm saying, it kind of lines up, and I feel like the justice system kind of sees a little bit of, hey, this is a little bit excessive, because the good news is they did drop the felony. They dropped that because it just didn't add up for me. The speed that I got hit was like at 15 miles per hour because I was in the process of pulling into the shoulder. So how is that evading, eluding? How is that running from you?
Yeah. We're still asking people if you have advice in terms of your past, the folks that are listening and watching. Have you ever been accused of something you did not do, and what did you do about it? Coy, Cecilia Dumas on Facebook says, "Oh my God, sorry that happened to you, Coy. Praying everything works out for you, as we are." All
Thank
are,
you.
Cecilia. And Barbara Anderson on Facebook says she's sorry this happened to you, and we join them as well. Michelle Lynn Summerall, don't go anywhere, Michelle. We're going to talk to you in a little bit, talk about your story. That is horrible, Coy, and everybody is in alignment with you. But what kind of advice beyond your lawyer and saying we're gonna work through this, we're gonna win, and what have you? What are people telling you or advising you to do, Coy?
They're just telling me to be, true to who I am, and everything is there. Like the evidence is there. It's all pretty much going to work out. And I would say that, like in any situation, when you're accused of something that you didn't do, after a while, it's not really your job to convince anybody that you're innocent of whatever it is that you're being accused of, because the proof is going to show itself, whether that comes from you or an outside source that points to the same
But that's
direction
got
of
to be
innocence or
frustrating,
says it
isn't it?
is. It
Is
really
it
is.
when you say, okay, let the proof rise, or let the whatever rise to the top, the cream or whatever it does, but the truth will see the light and all of that. But that's got to be frustrating, Coy, in terms of waiting for the truth to come out. I mean, you do stories every day about how people are unjustly arrested, how they are unjustly sentenced, and it takes forever. I mean, we do people who are exonerated and released from prison 40 years after
Hmm.
being sent to prison for something they did not do.
Yeah, and I know people that are in prison now for things that they
Right.
didn't do,
You
Right.
or
know, I think
wrongly accused or excessively accused. Like, it's
yeah, I
crazy.
think outside of being accused and robbing you of your dignity and things of that nature, being disrespectful to the person who you have grown to be, I think even a worse travesty is the fact that people got things to do with their lives. And
Right.
you seem like a very promising young woman who has things going on in her life, and to have to go into court constantly, have to take scheduling and pay money that you don't. If you didn't have it, you wouldn't even be in a situation now where you could probably talk to us, because they might put you in prison for an extended period of time if you couldn't pay for certain things. So it's
Right.
like you're taking so much out of your life, maybe 2 to 3 or 4 years for some people, even longer. That's so unfair. And this is
It
what we
is.
live in every day when someone decides, I want to pick her to be a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the differences in Atlanta as well as the state of Georgia with the state trooper, as you mentioned. This is what your case is with, and with the same thing have happened with the Atlanta PD, or whatever that local striction was, or district was. But it just seems to be that there's just so many wrongs done on this in this particular situation, and we're very sorry, but we are going to stay on top of it with you, and I think putting a light on it too may help in a lot of respects, and not just for you to, because you do need to vent your frustration, and that's what touched me when I was scrolling. I was like, oh boy, Coy, it's like and it's you are representing a lot of people, and if we have to make you the face, or you have to make yourself the face in order to prevent this from happening to other people, I'm not sure if this is what you want, but I think you will serve a greater purpose in all of this. As you are exonerated, I think that your case will also speak volumes for others who are going through the same thing. Charlotte Bowen Bellamy says, sending prayers on Facebook your way, Coy. This is happening so much. And like I said, you're not the only one. You're not alone. It is unjust because you're our friend, you're our colleague, and it's happening to you. But you are standing there in place of a lot of people. So
Yeah,
keep us up to date on it, will you?
definitely. I just want everybody to know that one of the things that I found out throughout this time is now the latest trend of wrongful arrest, and it's arrests at traffic stops in general, is now largely affecting Black women more than anyone else now. More than anyone else. And I can say that when I was arrested, when I was in jail, I was in a cell full of women, and most of them, I would say it was about 5 or 6 of them out of 8 of us that were arrested at a traffic stop.
The Sandra Blands in the world are real. The Coy Malones in the world are real. And something's got to be done to stop it.
And it's not just a Georgia thing. This is
across
the nation thing that I'm finding out. So it's scary. Everybody, I just, caution you all to be as safe as possible. And if you just find yourself under arrest, do not say anything. Get a lawyer.
Right. Coy, we're going to move on to the What You Need to Know newsletter. We're not going to lose sight of your case and what you're going through. Yes, Rudy.
Real quick, I can help when I can. Next time you're in court, just tell the judge Rudy Rush too. It might help a little bit.
We want to keep her out of jail.
Pretty popular. Yeah, that might get you locked up.
Just saying. Love you, Rudy, but All right, let's move to the What You Need to Know newsletter. And Coy, you're up first with your story. Different races and different sentences. Okay, so Coy's headline is "Freedom for a Sexual Predator and Prison for an Alleged Voter Voter Fraud, a person accused of voter fraud." I wanted to call this "Justice versus Just Us," Rudy. I don't think a lot of people understood the old justice versus justice or just us, but Coy has a story, and it's if you thought her story was crazy, listen to this.
Oh goodness. So here we are in Shelby County, Tennessee. This is where Memphis is. You have a 47-year-old former sheriff's deputy named Brian Beck, who was white. This man was accused of raping a 14-year-old repeatedly over 20 months.
He wasn't just accused.
Yeah.
He was indicted and convicted.
Convicted. And so what he received as his punishment is 3 years supervised probation. And there was a 4-year prison sentence that he was facing, but it's suspended unless he violates his probation by getting arrested again or having any kind of contact with the teenager who he raped. And he's also not required to register as a sex offender. He moved to bypass a jury trial and submitted a plea. So apparently this is how he was able to get this kind of deal to avoid prison.
From the judge.
Yes, from the judge. So now we have also 44-year-old Pam P Moses.
In the same county.
Memphis. And she was attempting to run for mayor. She was asked to submit her voting credentials and discovered that she was on probation. But she already pled guilty to charges of stalking, theft, forgery, and tampering with evidence in 2015. She served her probation. It was completed. She got in contact with her probation officer, who verified, yes, she completed her probation. As a matter of fact, here's a certificate. I'm going to go sign this, submit this in court. Now, this prosecutor, this district attorney said that, you know what? She was given this certificate in error, and she actually tricked the probation officer into signing this certificate, which is false. So now what we're going to do is sentence you to 6 years in prison for voting fraud because you have voted fraudulently over the course of years since this case happened, and you're
Wow.
actually still on probation. This is what
And
she
she,
said.
and she got how much?
6 years
And
in prison.
the child rapist, because that's what he was convicted of, he
3
got
years probation.
probation.
Supervised, but free. And I believe he's also free in the same place that this teenager lives in. This is what we're facing in the justice system, and a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of conversation that I'm seeing right now is people saying that, oh, I refuse to vote because of what's going on with gas prices and the president and blah blah blah. But you got to realize what you're forfeiting when you refuse to vote. It's not just about the president, it's also about the local officials that make these decisions, including the
The,
district
the,
attorney. When you don't vote, you are agreeing with whatever happens by whomever makes these decisions. The only way, I mean, you could complain about this district attorney all you want. You could write letters and things like that. But the thing that's going to move this district attorney is voting
yeah,
him or her out, and in this case, her out.
that's the bottom
Mm.
line. That's what's up. And Coy, I asked you to include in the story also, it wasn't in the same area, but
Mm-hmm.
3 white men accused of voter fraud. And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there were 3 white men last year that were accused of voting fraud, and their punishment was not nearly the same at all. So you have
Mm.
people in these 3 men in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and their names are Bruce Batman, which is so funny,
Hmm.
Robert Richard Lynn, and Edward Snodgrass, and they were convicted of illegal voting last year, but the only thing that they received was 3 days in prison, and two of
One
them
of them.
received, yeah, one of them received 3 days in prison, and the other two received probation.
And this is voting for dead people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Like their dead parents, they went and voted in their place.
Yeah.
So my
Mm.
question to you ladies both, honestly, now we're talking about these stories, and the saddest part about hearing anything, even your story, Coy, is that even people watch it, we've heard this millions of times. It won't be the last time we hear these types of differences and how we're being treated in the justice system and in our courts and in our streets and in our neighborhoods. So like, how is it, I mean, talking about it is always going to help. It's always going to, wake someone up to understand what's going on around them. But how do we honestly, as African Americans, get to the point where these stories are little to none or few? You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
I'm not surprised about anything that's being said right now, and it's terrible that I'm sitting here and I'm not shocked. Like,
Right.
why are we not in a world where this is a terrible thing? And it is terrible, but at the same time, we're so used to it. It happens so often in so many different states and cities and towns across America. Who's going to help us not have these discussions anymore?
So I think Coy has made the point that we cannot wait upon other people to do what they need to do. It's on us to make sure that the people that are doing the right thing. If you look at cities like it, and you probably know this too, both Coy and Rudy. There's an uprising. There is a greater occurrence of district attorneys in cities like Philadelphia and Dallas and other cities and my hometown of Chicago, where you have DAs or those running for DA who are pledging to make a difference in cases like this, and whether they are brought up or not, or whether something can be done. Even in Coy's case, the district attorney or whoever is involved for the state in that with that state trooper, let's make sure that we vote for these people or those people who appoint those people that are
Mm-hmm.
going to be doing the right thing for us.
Yeah. Even
I think that's where we start, Rudy.
Yeah.
definitely, even with one of my recent stories that I covered out in San Francisco, where I believe the
Right.
officer was he brutally attacked a black man and got off from that. And the district attorney, they have been doing, his name is Chesa Boudin,
Hmm.
and they have been doing everything they can to get this man out of office because he has committed his career towards holding police officers that are guilty of excessive force accountable. And it's gotten to the point where the chief of police in San Francisco said, well, we had a deal to cooperate in investigations with excessive force and what have you. We're not going to do this anymore because we don't like you. Now, apparently they
How
renewed
can
this
you be
agreement for
so
the next 60 days, but yeah.
Mm.
how can you be so petty and so evil? I don't know if you can use evil and petty in the same sentence when you're comparing a person, but how do you do that? So we don't like you, so we're going to get rid of you, and
Yeah, just
we're not going to follow the agreement.
right, just because you are holding our own accountable for things that we feel like they shouldn't be accountable for. And I mean, when you Google this man's picture, Chesa Boudin, Boudin, he looks stressed out.
Yeah, well,
He
I
looks
bet they
stressed
are.
out.
Yeah, yeah. Life ain't
Very.
easy on the West Coast. I tell you.
Mm-mm.
I'll tell
Mm.
you. So keep us up to date. And people have been talking about Pam Moses, and this is a case of woman, as you said, sentenced to 6 years for voter fraud, which she did not commit. And so we're gonna keep an eye on that case. I do want to. There's so much in this newsletter. Our very free What You Need to Know newsletter. Please go to SybilWilkes.com to subscribe to it. But I do, and I want to talk about a number of things, but I do want to focus on one of our faithful viewers and listeners who was a part of our Shiro series. March is National Women's History Month, Rudy, and you got two phenomenal women there in your home, as well as your mom and others. And so we are asking people to write their stories about their everyday sheroes. And our friend Michelle Summerall, as I mentioned, Michelle, don't go far because she is celebrating her mom, Mary M. Sharp. And she said, today I reflect on the strength and resilience of my mother. Born in 1936, they surely don't make women like this anymore. She was born into times when the Social Security Act was signed into law the day after her birth. The Great Depression was in full swing. She did not have the right to vote, but would later fight for equality and other rights as an activist. And as Billie Holiday was giving soulful, playful, and sultry songs. She's been in the movement for a very long time. Michelle also sadly shares with us that her mother is in her sunset years as she is the caregiver for both her mother and father who are going through dementia and
Mm.
Alzheimer's. Michelle
Oh,
is a life coach, and so certainly sharing with us life lessons as she is every day probably learning new life lessons. But Michelle, I just want to thank you so much for the beautiful love letter about your mom and to your mom, and for sharing, and also encourage other people to send us their stories of their everyday sheroes as we continue the month of March and salute these sheroes amongst us. If you go to Sybil at SybilWilkes.com, we'd appreciate it and would love to hear your story. But Michelle, your story so touched me, and I can't wait to read your book. And I just want to send my love and strength to you as you give so much of yourself to your family and to your mom, who is such a fine example of that. And we thank you, Michelle. No, bless you, Michelle Lynn Summerall, and we thank you for that. And she's on Facebook watching
oh,
us.
hey Michelle.
Right, 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 right. And if you
Michelle.
and Michelle, when Rudy comes to your town, he'll make sure you get some tickets so you can get to his show
Yeah,
and get a good laugh and smile.
absolutely.
I'll make sure your tickets are paid for, Michelle.
We got you. We got you, Michelle.
But that is a part of what I talk about a lot, and that's caring for the caregiver, because they do so much, and we have to, if we cannot do for them what for their family that they are doing, let us do for the caregiver as well,
Right.
and encourage them, right? The last thing, and quickly, I do want to talk about is the story at the top of the newsletter about helping our own all over the world, and how Black people stepped up to help those African students who were pushed back, pushed out of line as they were trying to get out of Ukraine. These are students studying at Ukraine universities, and they were pushed out of line as the Ukrainians were pushed forward and in order to get out of the country as they are in the midst of a war.
Mm.
So this story is how they were pushed out off to the side. They had no place to go, no place to stay, and African students who were there. This one gentleman from Nigeria had just graduated. He came back and he said, I can't leave. I've got to tell what's going on to these people. And he went back and helped find them safe passage to other countries, as well as money. And then these other women, one including a medical student in Ukraine, a Black woman from Zimbabwe, and two British women, two Black women from Great Britain, started this GoFundMe. They have now raised over almost $200,000
Wow.
to help Black students get out of Ukraine.
I'm telling you, everybody got a little Harriet Tubman in them.
Right? He was finding them bunkers to live in, this young man from Nigeria, right?
Wow.
It's bunkers so they could be safe. And then he would drive them hours to get out of the country.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's that Harriet in them.
Okay. Okay. So great stories like that. And do we need to talk more about those as well? From Michelle and talking about the Africans, and keep an eye on what Coy is talking about as well. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to talk about entertainment. And I don't know if this is entertaining to you as a sports fan, but Tom Brady is coming back, Rudy.
Yeah. Listen. He had a shorter retirement.
40 days.
Yeah.
40 days. And he said, about that retirement, I'm coming back to you, Tampa. What do you think, Rudy?
You know what happened?
What?
He went home, Sybil, and he spent 2 weeks with his kids, two more weeks with his wife, and he was like, I don't know. I got to go back to work. He didn't go back to coaching or nothing. He said, I'm going back on the field. I need a concussion. After dealing with this, I said, okay. Y'all been doing this whole time. This is all y'all do at home.
This is what happens. Yep. So he's not only going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he's throwing off the whole quarterback search thing. And Deshaun Watson, oh poor Deshaun, thought he was going to get a prime gig with the loss of Tom Brady, and now he's got to kind of been pushed back, especially by Tampa.
He got to deal with his case with massage envy. That dude. He on every massage envy security.
Got that line through his picture.
You go behind the desk at massage envy. It's a picture of Deshaun Watson, and they like, don't let him.
Whatever you do.
70 massages. Who does that? Dude. What's your advice to Deshaun? Do you keep pushing and trying to get out of Houston, or what do you do? I think you stay put, keep your mouth shut, because right now, I mean, the one thing about being accused of anything, when it's one person, it's cool. When it's two, it might be a bit of a conspiracy. When you got 13 to 20 people like, yes, he did.
Right.
And it's all, it's crazy. So I just wish that, he would, another year or two, he's going to become a Colin Kaepernick situation where he's kind of phased out of his potential in the league. And nobody's gonna want him. They're not gonna even want to touch him. So if he gets to play, cool. If not, I hope he saved enough of his money and didn't spend it all on massages. That's for sure.
But how crazy is it, Coy and Rudy, that he's been benched because of this whole just awful situation with the professional masseuses, a number of them, while Colin, was benched because he stood up for what's right. And so it's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, and it doesn't matter what you are accused of. You're a Black quarterback, and they're gonna put you off to the side before they will welcome back a 72-year-old quarterback like Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's just stressed out at home. He decided,
that's what Rudy said.
He said, these kids are stressing me out. I don't really like my wife like that. I like her from a distance. When I'm on the field, when I'm winning, when they're cheering in the press box, that's where I like them. At home, can't do this. I gotta go back. Gotta get back to the streets.
I cannot sit in that line waiting for the kids to get out of school every day. I can't do it.
If they ask me for help with their homework one more time.
Don't beat me up. Don't beat me up, ladies, because there's a bunch of y'all watching too. This is what y'all do. When the brothers off from work, He retired now. Now y'all think you gonna do what I did for this last 20 years. You gonna drive him to school. She probably read in the riot act. She was like, you gonna take him to school this week? Because I've been taking him for the last 20 years. He like, I'm sorry, I'm going back to play.
Mhm.
Not to mention the fact that she wanted him to move to Brazil, which may not be the smartest move there, Giselle or Miss Bunchin or whatever Brady your name is,
No.
but that might not be the brightest move either.
But the land is very, very cheap there. I have a friend that moved back.
But it could be very expensive for a man in Brazil. That's all I'm
Thank
saying.
you. Listen, I had a girl.
Just saying.
Sybil, I had a girlfriend once. She was like, "Why don't you go with my friend Joe to Brazil?" I said, "You trying to break up?"
Okay.
Because
Okay.
those women out there, they don't take no for an answer, and they look like models. I'm like, I
Okay.
ain't going there.
Okay.
I'm like trying to be tempted.
My godfather, to the day he died, called himself Rio Don. And we still don't know what happened in Rio, but it stayed there. She didn't come or they didn't come, but he was Rio Don. And there's a reason why he called himself Rio Don, because he was
Oh,
having
yeah.
a
I've heard a
real
lot of
lot of
horror
fun.
stories. I've heard
Yeah.
a lot of horror stories.
Yeah.
And let's just say my dad said, don't go there. He
Okay.
said, don't go by yourself.
Okay.
I'll say this one last thing. Giselle is a beautiful woman, but in Brazil, they be like, "Who, huh?"
She's like Cinderella's stepsister.
Yeah.
They'll probably laugh at her like me and Sybil just laugh. Like, ha ha ha.
Right.
Man, whatever.
Exactly. All right, let's go to our daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewel as we close out today. Resentment is like poison to the body. Learn how to forgive. Resentment is like poison to the body. Learn how to forgive. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Rudy, I know you got some things going on.
Yes, I will forgive the person who made the quote. Because Yogi, we traveled together one time and she made me her personal porter, putting bags up here and coming from listen,
That sounds
coming
like
from
the
coach
Yogi
all the way
thing.
to first class to get her bags and everything. People were like, "Does he work for you? Is he your like translator?" So I forgive you, Yogi, for first of all, I'm bringing your ticket when we going, and I'm the celebrity. I said,
Oh,
"Wait
you
a minute, why
don't know who the
1A?
real celebrity is in all of this.
No, she booked the ticket. She in 1A, and I'm in 23B. I'm like, so Sybil,
and dragging the bag.
We love you, Rudy. We love you. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. We appreciate it. And don't forget, Rudy Rush is the man. We love and adore you. So thanks so much.
Love you all too.
And Coy, we're keeping thumbs up and keeping you in our prayers and in God's good graces, because you are going to beat this.
Well, thank you. I'm
All right,
looking
everybody.
forward to it.
Thanks, everyone.